Is this where we clap?
Alright, so welcome everyone to the first Cango video cast. We're going to be talking today about health and safety. Yay! Woo! Very exciting. Well, yeah, I think that is the overall impression that health and safety isn't super exciting, but we're going to tell them otherwise, aren't we, Kai? Yeah, completely.
Wow.
World Health and Safety Day on the 28th of April 2024, and couldn't be more excited. No, but in all seriousness, it is something that does need to be done at a facility like the Cango Wildlife Ranch, but mainly it's to keep us alive as well as the animals, isn't it, Kai?
Yeah, pretty much. So I think there's a lot of normal things that people think about when it comes to health and safety, but this is a very dynamic and very kind of different work environment to what a lot of people are used to.
Mm-hmm.
So there are different challenges, especially when you've got animals in that environment that you've got to kind of contend with.
Right, if you're in a regular office environment, health and safety might be like, oh, don't trip over the photo fax machine, whereas here it's, oh, don't trip over the porcupine.
Yeah, don't get eaten by the tiger.
Yeah.
Try not to, get too close to the crocs,
Mm-hmm.
things like that. So yeah, it kind of adds a bit more of a dynamic environment that you've got to contend with.
Well, yeah, so I mean, I think there's two angles I'd like to talk about here. The first one I think is for staff and of course the animals, and then perhaps visitors as well, because I think a lot of visitors would come to a place like this and not realize how much is put in place to protect them while they're just roaming about and checking things out, as well as the animals. But maybe we can actually even start there. So I'm a visitor, I come to the wildlife ranch. What is in place perhaps to keep us safe and happy?
So I suppose a lot of it would be, it kind of has got a big crossover in terms of, a lot of your visitor safety is going to be about restricting certain access or restricting access to certain areas. That of course can, if you flip it to the other side, it's also restricting animals to have certain access. So you never obviously want to have your animals and your people or your visitors having access to each other. It tends not to
unwarranted access.
It tends not to be a good good kind of combination. Although we do get visitors that try their best.
Yes.
So you're always going to have those bad apples, but it's our job as being a member of the health and safety committee and being an employee at the ranch just to try and mitigate that as best as possible.
Of course, yeah.
So visitors, they come to the ranch. Obviously, your main kind of your first kind of barrier is a barrier. So you restrict access to animals by making sure that it's inaccessible for visitors unless they really want to climb through electric fencing and over walls and stuff like that. You restrict that access that way. You've got certain pathways. Another thing, obviously, we've got people walking up and down the whole time, and those people are quite vigilant on where people should be, where they shouldn't be, where visitors are allowed, where they're not allowed, where animals are allowed, where they're not allowed, and there's certain drills and procedures in place for if things were to go wrong, obviously.
Right, so obviously fire drills, first aid, all the rest of that.
So first aid, we've got first aid kits all throughout the ranch. Obviously your first aid kit is kind of treating your symptom, not treating the cause. So you want to obviously be preventing anything before you have to use your first aid kits. So barriers is a big one. People just being vigilant is another one. And just basically it comes to how you've designed the park. So we've obviously got a facility that I think it was 2008. Big overhaul got done. So our stuff is a little bit dated in some areas where it's maybe didn't get attention in 2008. For example, the meerkat enclosures, those were all kind of designed beforehand, and so we've kind of altered them a little bit. We've dropped those pits so that people can kind of, or they can't kind of hang in there and grab the meerkats, and the meerkats can't grab them because people think, oh, cute and cuddly, I really want to give it a little cuddle.
And it is an unfortunate reality, these kind of things. People want to reach in, and I've seen them try to reach in before we did the dip and after, and we've literally called people out. So it is, people are going to people, they're going to be doing crazy things like that, and it's the best we can is to try and it's more protecting the animals from the people.
Pretty much. I mean, you always get silly people. It's all about our main concern, especially for people that are kind of working here and are based in the animal department and are focused on the animals, is the animal safety a lot of times. Is obviously, people that tend to like animals tend not to like people. So they're always focused on like, leave my animals alone.
Yes.
It's my animals. I want them to be safe. I don't want you to get your dirty, filthy hands away from my animals. So there's that aspect to it. There's obviously the tourism department is more focused on the people and how they interact with the park, and so it comes together. You get all those different perspectives like that. So
then, obviously, part of that, the park where it's built is for the safety of the animal and everything, but something just occurred to me as well. There are obviously, so ranch, the wildlife ranch does do encounters with animals, and I think that if we have an ambassador animal program, right? And I think, again, tooting my own horn, I suppose, in terms of being here, but I think we do it right. If there's any place that does it right, I think we do it right. But I think a lot of visitors don't realize to what degree we actually go to keep the animal and people safe when they're in the interaction. Everything from the cheetah to just the lemur, and what a lot of people also don't realize is that we will actually end the encounter before it's even begun if we even suspect for a moment that there might be any issue between animal or person. Animal safety comes first, and then everyone else.
That's the animal kind of side of things. The animal person and you coming out. Animals need to be safe first. I spoke about barriers now, obviously, and obviously there's protected contact and unprotected contact. That's what we always talk about in the industry. So when we're doing this ambassador program, it's very specific animals. We're not taking you in with lions or leopards or big crocodiles to just go and like muck about and have fun. We've kind of changed our approach from what it was acceptable in the industry way back when to now. It's we interact with certain animals, and then those people that get brought in there, they get brought in there with the big team. We don't just let you in there for you to just go run around and have fun and get the cheetah to take nice photos and stuff like that. There's a very specific, very well-trained team that goes in there with you, and they've all got individual jobs. We've had situations before where, like you say, if we think that there's something that is not quite right, we will end the encounter. I've actually been a part of those encounters before where you do have to kind of, hang on, we need to, let's just end everything, make sure everyone's safe, make sure everything's all right, and then we can continue. So we never want to put our animals in a position where they're going to feel forced or be upset with us or anything like that. That comes to the animal department. So that's going to be almost your first kind of protective.
Prevention is better than.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So these people are our caregivers, which are the ones that work with our cheetahs. They're hands-on. They spend more time with the cheetahs than they do with their own families.
So they know their behavior.
They really know their behavior. And they are always trying to keep that relationship positive. We do positive reinforcement training here. We're not trying to force the animal to do the encounters. We want to encourage people to kind of embrace themselves and delve into the environment of the animal and really get an understanding of the animal and up close
and form that connection.
That connection, because that's so important. And it's one of the things like these other places that do these interactions, they just focus on making money and they just focus on getting the photo and take the photo, do whatever you want with the animal.
And that's why you see a tourist their leg will be bitten or something because ultimately the safety protocol isn't really in there and they're not paying attention to the behavior of the animal, and someone gets in the wrong place in the wrong time and the animal does what it does.
Exactly, I mean, you're putting that animal in that position as well by forcing an animal to do something that it doesn't want to do. Like, for example, let's say you're an animal at one of these facilities. I walk in there, I want to pick you up, I want to hold you, I think you're very cute and cuddly, so I start squishing your cheeks, I start scratching your head. You're going to get very upset very quickly. Whereas here, we've got very strict guidelines of how we interact with the animals. We make that clear to the public beforehand, so that if they try and push the boundary, that's, we take them out immediately. We're not here to force our animals to do anything, because it's going to ultimately lead to a bad experience for the animal, a bad experience for you, and it does put people in danger. So we want to try and encourage people to interact with animals in a respectful manner within their environment, and we think that is important to form that connection with nature. We think it is quite important for people to do that. So you've got your team of highly trained people that essentially become the barrier should anything go wrong. They are trained in how to work with the cat, how to evacuate those people in those situations, so that we're mitigating everything. And we haven't had any major incidents, and we've been doing these interactions for ages. So the fact that we have not had any major incidents, I think speaks
to
our standards.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Our procedure and
Yeah.
how we interact with the animals,
Yeah.
and that's the main thing that I think people need to understand is, it's all about how you treat the animal. It's all about, you can have as many procedures as you want, but if the animal wants to be angry with you, it's going to be angry with you.
And then it's up to us then to recognize that and then pull back and not force the animal to something good. That's
exactly.
Ultimately, they are still wild animals, they're not domesticated. Even if we've gotten to a situation where we have gotten them more used to people, ultimately they will still default to their nature, whatever that may be, and we've got to be able to recognize that, not continuously force them. It's like, we treat our animals in the same way that anyone would treat an animal at the Kruger National Park. We respect that their enclosure is their environment. That's where we are going in, and in some ways intruding, but you get them kind of, I suppose, used to the intrusion, see as a positive rather than, I'm using intruding in the base level of the word. You're just entering an area, ultimately we're trying to not create the stressful situation for them or the people involved, so that everyone can enjoy the interaction together. And even that extends even to people being outside the enclosure and then their behavior outside of that and how they interact with the animal, and not because an animal can get stressed out even if the person's not in the enclosure. So it's a matter of making sure that the health and safety of the animal and the enclosure and the people and everything is all on the level. And our methodology then ensures that animal first, safety first, etc.
Exactly. Yeah, it's a big basis, and I can maybe touch on the rules of the encounters per se to kind of give people a better understanding of.
Yes, I think that is very important, because again, we do have an ambassador animal program. Encounters is an important part, but it's only worked because we have these procedures in place, right? So please.
So for example, if you want to do a cheetah encounter, you've got to be over the age of 14 and above 1.5 meters tall. So that already is our first criteria. That's simply because we've had cats in the past where if you're below 1.5 meters, there's obviously that prey drive. Cheetahs specifically, they hunt. The biggest that they'll go to is a Thompson gazelle if they are, or basically a springbok if they are a single individual. If they've, the males will sometimes form coalitions. Sometimes they'll go for zebra then, something as big as that. But we typically will, if we've got a coalition, we assess that behavior and what those cats are comfortable with. It's all obviously on an individual basis. If we know that these cats aren't going to do well with encounters, we don't put them in that situation in the first place. So when it comes to the visitor side of things, 1.5 meters is the minimum height requirement, and then 14 years of age. The reason we say 14 years of age, we just believe that is a kind of a good age where most of your population is going to be mature at that age and able to understand instructions and be able to...
And above a certain height, more or less, as well.
Yes, essentially as
on
well.
average.
Yeah. So we do that as well. I mean, we sometimes will have individuals that are in their 30s, 40s that are obviously below the 1.5 limit, and so we kind of want to have both. Then you walk into the encounter waiting area. From there, the team will obviously welcome you. And then we ask sunglasses, if you can put that away in the lockers, any hats, any loose belongings, any necklaces, any scarves, and that's because cheetahs are cats, and just like a cat at home, that you wave something that is dangling in front of it, it wants to play with it.
Anything shiny or strange.
Sunglasses, very reflective. They see their reflection in that. They want to go over and explore. They're quite inquisitive. So we try and we reduce that immediately, that kind of possibility. Even with hair as well. If you're a lady or man or whatever and you've got long hair, we ask you to tie it up into a single ponytail or just a bun.
I think any cat owners will know immediately. Long hair is just, the cat will be all over that. So something that's as large as a small Great Dane wanting to play with your hair.
And then from there we give the visitors have to wash their hands. That's just to prevent any biological kind of spread of any diseases or any pests or anything from either our visitors to our animals or from our animals to our visitors. And then from there they get given the instructions. So the instructions follow something along the lines of, hi, my name is Kai. I'm going to be the one that is working with the cat today. You're also going to be accompanied with Garrett. He's going to be your bodyguard for today, so you're always going to stick around with him if I'm not around. and just follow our instructions. You're also going to have a photographer. Now the photographer also backs up as the person who evacuates.
Right.
Yeah. So should there be anything where the bodyguard and the individual doing the encounter needs to evacuate or needs to handle the cat, the photographer is there in order to evacuate the group. We also only take 4 people in the cheetah camps at a time.
Is that four visitors and crew?
So 4 visitors, and then you have to have a minimum of 3 crew to go in. We don't go in with any less crew just because we want everyone to be safe. So 4 visitors, just so we can kind of easier or keep control of the situation in an easier manner. And then from there we explain further rules of how you're going to interact with the cat. So we explain to them, listen, we're going to walk inside the enclosure, we're going to stand at the gate. I'm going to go over, I'm going to leave you with Garrett. Garrett will look after you. Don't walk away, don't leave, don't walk off or wander off or around the enclosure. Just stick with Garrett. I'm going to go off, I'm going to go up to the cat, I'm going to assess its behavior. I've worked with this cat my whole career here. I know this cat. Ever since the cat arrived at the ranch, I've been working with it. I feed it twice a day. I know the individual. I'm going to go and assess its behavior. So I go over, I assess the behavior. If I get to the cat and the cat doesn't want to interact, or I pick up signs that maybe the cat isn't in the mood to kind of have visitors today, we go to a different encounter. Or if no one really wants to interact, we'd rather say, listen, we don't feel comfortable doing this anymore. We'd rather refund you or offer you a different encounter, such as the lean encounter. So now the cat is very happy with getting some nice back scratches. We'll bring you over. When you go over to the cat, we're going to stand in front of the cat. That's just because we don't want the cat to get a fright. All of a sudden the cat's focused on that, or it's busy sleeping or whatever. We don't really work with them when they're sleeping, but if the cat's maybe not paying attention, all of a sudden something appears behind it. These guys are very, very fast. World's fastest land animal. They will be up and,
again, as we know, with regular cats, they're easily startled, and then they launch into the air or strike out.
Yeah, exactly. So we get everyone to stand in a line in between the bodyguard and the photographer. That's just so should the cat get up and want to come snuff or anything, we've got people that can get in between the visitors and the cat pretty quickly. So once everyone's lined up in front, then we'll explain to the visitors that, listen, once that has happened, you're going to come one by one around to the back of the cat. We're going to stand in between you while you do that. So we'll maneuver you in such a way that, again, like I said, barriers, your biggest protection is going to be a barrier. So we want to kind of barrier and mitigate that if the cat were not to get a fright, because these cats aren't now, I want to eat someone.
They
want
to get away from the danger.
Yeah. So we'll bring you around. You sit on your haunches or you sit with one knee on the ground. We say that as a rule just because it's quicker to get up. If you're sitting on your cross-legged on your bun, or like you wanting to lie down, that's obviously you're not gonna be able to get up should we need you to. So often these cats will roll over as well. So it's not even sometimes where the cat wants to get up and jump on someone. It's just a case of the cat just wants to roll over. In which case sometimes they'll roll over, and if they roll over onto you, they've got sharp dew claws. We obviously don't want them latching onto something. Or in a playful mood, they want to latch onto something. So once that's happened, once you're seated behind the cat on your haunches, on your one knee, like I say, you can touch the back of the head, you can touch the back, and you can touch the sides. That's the only place we allow visitors to touch. We don't let them touch the belly, we don't let them touch the paws. You can't touch the face, you can't touch the tail, grab it, swing it around. We're very specific with how we work with animals. Yeah. So
and I think some visitors even sometimes maybe get a bit disappointed when they realize that, because they arrive and they've seen photos of people cuddling a cheetah's face and all of that and putting their face against there. And I see those photos, and yes, they make great photos, but ultimately they're incredibly dangerous, because again, if the cheetah decides it wants to have a little nibble, and again, I keep making this parallel, people who own cats know that even if it's your domestic cat and you go and you give it a little love kiss or whatever, the chances that cat turns around and smacks you in the face or bites you, it happens all the time. Now again, a wild animal, big cat, a photo like that, you're just asking for trouble. And we don't want people to come here, have this amazing moment, and then just be bitten in the face.
Kind of ruins the moment.
A little bit.
Might make future pictures a bit harder. Exactly like that. We don't let them play with the belly, because just like normal cats, you play with the cat's belly and it wants to latch on and play. So we do that, and there's always someone that is within arm's reach of you and the cat, just in case like I said, cat wants to roll over, we get in between you and the cat. And we work with our cats that way. A lot of people, like you say, might be a little bit disappointed with the interaction because they get you and they want the cat to be standing. They want the cat to be sitting.
They want to be able to hug it and cuddle
yes,
it.
But specifically, if they hear, we get a lot of people that just want the photo.
Yes.
And maybe aren't too interested in the educational, which is also why it's nice to have a team down there that is so interactive and can educate the public, because they kind of change the view that way of like, oh, I just want a photo, and then you come out going, oh, I learned so much about these animals. It's actually amazing.
Again, ultimately, you're right. The whole point of this is not so you can get your photo. The whole point of this is to create a bond and educate you. That's the entire point.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and through the photo, I mean, we can also spread awareness that way. People love taking photos, and they will post the photo on social media, and then people want to go, hey, where's that? Let's see that place, and it feeds people to us, and we can educate people that way. So it's an educational funnel, essentially. But going back to what I was saying about the entire interaction, we want to educate people, we keep them safe. Once everyone's had their turn around at the back, we all go around to the front, we say our goodbyes, and we kind of frog walk you out the enclosure, and again you wash your hands, and you grab your stuff and you can go off and take your photo. And we hope through that you've had a positive interaction with an animal. It's been entirely safe.
And the animal obviously.
And the animals enjoyed it. We're not asking, like I was saying. Sorry, that's what I was saying. I forgot my train of thought. The photo opportunity where people get you and they want to say, oh, I want the cat standing, I want the cat sitting. We don't force our animals to do that, because it's putting them in a bad position, and we are not willing to put our animals in a bad position.
It's on their terms.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So we're visitors to their house, essentially. I don't come to your house and like walk in there with 20 random people and go, cool, we're going to have a party and I'm going to pick you up and throw you around to people and all of that.
It sounds like a 21st day, honestly.
Yeah. So I'm pretty sure a lot of people look back at their 21st and go, that was a headache.
That time I got kidnapped from my room and dumped in a boat.
So that's how those cheetah encounters go. And it's very similar kind of rules and regulations for the rest of the encounters. We don't force our animals to do anything. We don't want to put them in that position. We've got very strict ways which you can interact with the animal, and our staff are very highly trained on what to do and what to do in different scenarios and how to work with the cats and how to read their behavior. And that's the first thing to get right. We don't just take random people and go, okay, you're going to take people inside now. You've got to go through, you've got to write tests, you've got to interact with the animals, you've got to do practical tests and stuff like that. So there's a whole rigmarole around it.
Again, I've seen places where they'll get literal volunteers from overseas or, untrained laymen who will just come in and take people in with animals, and these are people who maybe never seen a cheetah until a week before.
Exactly.
It's just, again, a cheetah are actually fairly placid and timid overall in captivity, but it's still playing with fire. And we've seen it repeatedly. We see it all the time in the news where just one incident will wreck that entire facility or a breeding program or something because people aren't taking what I think are fairly easy precautions to take. Yes, it involves training, but it also just involves a bit of logical thinking and some step-by-steps, and there you go.
Exactly.
Actually, I wanted to ask earlier, so we're talking about diseases, right? Cleaning our hands and feet and everything. What kind of diseases could potentially pass between, obviously there's certain zoonotic diseases, or irritations, skin parasites. What are we protecting against for animal people?
So the big one that cheetahs can kind of transfer, and anyone who owns cats will know this, is toxoplasmosis. We don't let pregnant women, if you're pregnant, we advise against doing, ultimately it's your choice. But we don't advise pregnant ladies to do the cheetah encounter, because toxoplasmosis has been, I don't think we've had any cases of anyone getting any of our staff.
Would you mind just explaining to the listeners?
So toxoplasmosis is basically, it's a, I'm forgetting the word now. It's because it's not a virus and it's not a bacterial infection.
It's not a parasite?
Or
an infection?
I'm forgetting the...
I've also forgotten now. I've read about it before, but also I've forgotten. Anyway, it's a thing that invades your body.
It's a thing, and you often will get it, that's why they say pregnant ladies can't have cats when they're pregnant, or don't change the cat litter essentially, because that's how it transfers. And it's basically a thing that will transfer in cat poo. And basically what happens is that sits in the soil. Rats will actually pick it up, and that's basically how it gets into cats. Is it makes rats a lot more kind of calm around cats, and it makes them attracted to cat pee as well. The smell of cat.
So they take
go
bigger
towards the cat. Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
They go towards the cat, and then the cat eats the rat because which cat would eat a rat? And then that cat now has it. And
it's crazy to think that there's a bug that like literally changes the brain chemistry of an
exactly.
To put themselves in danger.
Yeah, it's very wild. And there was actually I think it was Robert Sapolsky is the one that did the study, but he actually picked up that there is a high likelihood of motorcycle crash victims having toxoplasmosis because it makes you less risk adverse.
Yeah, so you'll take more danger.
You take more risk.
Yeah.
It
makes me wonder how many like daredevils might have it as well.
Yeah, it's very interesting.
Yeah.
I think there was I might be making this up now, but I think there was a statistic that said that like 30% of the population has got toxoplasmosis.
I've also seen something similar to that. It depends on which population you're looking at. If you look at the US, there's a lot of cats there.
Exactly.
And it's very prevalent. I've read similar studies. So.
So just getting back to for our visitors and our cats. So we advise against it for pregnant people. So anyone can get it, but the reason we say pregnant ladies, we don't want. If you're pregnant and you get it, it can transfer to your fetus or to your unborn child, and that can cause various neurological and developmental issues, and that's obviously not something we want to.
Yeah, of course.
So we've got that. That is a problem. We've also got ringworm, which is a surprising one because people don't know this, but cats can get ringworm. So we've had, I think the last outbreak was 7 years ago. We had a cat on Greystone, which is our private nature reserve, where we have some cheetah. There was a bit of a ringworm outbreak there, and so
transferred.
Yeah, we had to. Well, no, the team picked it up and managed to restrict it to 2 or 3 cats, luckily. So, but it just becomes a whole rigmarole then of F10ing everything. You've got to use bleach on certain items because F10 might not work on them, and we want to just make sure. So certain things do get treated. COVID was obviously a big one. You want to talk about zoological diseases. We were lucky. We didn't have any of our animals get COVID.
Yeah, I suppose especially for the primates, like the lemurs and such, like they can pick up our respiratory.
Yes, lemurs. So lemurs were quite susceptible to it. Bats as well, obviously. That was the whole.
When it
originally went off, everyone was going, the bats. Have got it. Cats as well. There were actually quite a few big cats in the US and throughout the globe, unfortunately, that passed away from COVID or COVID-related illnesses, which is very unfortunate and very sad. But we were quite fortunate in that we didn't have any of our cats get it, and that's because we were very strict on to come into the facility. We took your temperature. We made sure you had foot baths available. We had hand sanitizer all over. We were very kind of cautious on how people interacted with the cats and our procedure before that, which hasn't really changed too much. I mean, we still F10 and disinfect everyone before they go into the encounter.
Which is good.
So there's various zoonotical diseases that we do take into account and we do worry about.
Yeah, of course. I mean, we do interactions with various birds as well, so obviously that's, bird flu is a thing. But again, if we keep our hands clean, we keep our bird population separate from the wild bird population, that also prevents it, that kind of thing. Then I was thinking now, there's also one particular, I want to say activity or interaction we have here that only one other facility in the world I'm aware of has, and that would be our croc cage diving, right?
Yeah.
So the only other one is the one in Australia, but obviously I was being the first one here, and the safety, like literally, shark cage diving already existed, they've got their own safety protocols, so that's out in the ocean. This is more of a controlled environment, and no one had done crocodile cage diving before. So we had to figure that out from scratch. Obviously now we've gotten a lot better. No deaths or eatings have happened that we're aware of. But obviously, that is an entire safety protocol because you got to take people, put them in a cage, lower them into the water, be surrounded by crocodiles, and pull them up without any incident. So surely there's things around there that we might have.
Yeah, so that's one of our encounters that we're very strict on. Obviously, you're putting people in a position where they are going to be up close and personal with one of the only species on Earth that looks at people as part of their natural diet.
Fine, yeah.
Yeah,
it's extremely dangerous.
Oh, it's very dangerous. Yeah. But again, very well trained staff that conduct that. We've got to get crane to it. We can't, be operating.
Yeah, because we use a crane to.
Yeah, we use a crane to. So for people that haven't seen it, we have this big cage that 2 people can fit in. So we only restrict it to 2 people, although probably.
You can go see on our YouTube channel. Look up crocodile cage diving. You'll find them there.
Yeah, there you go. Shameless plug.
Yeah.
Then we've got a crane that is weighted to, I think it's 5 tons. So, it's a pretty sturdy crane.
Yeah. So you can take quite a few people in there, I think.
yeah, quite a few. So obviously, just on the crane as well, that obviously gets checked. So that gets checked twice a year. Our cage dive is only open for about 6 months of the year. So
which is the warm season for the crocodiles.
Yeah, the warm season for the crocodiles because we don't want to put our crocodiles at risk. So essentially how that encounter works, we explain rules to visitors again before they get in there. So the rules will go, hi, my name is Kai. I'm going to be your crane operator today. Please listen to any of my instructions. If at any point I feel like you're not listening to instructions or you are putting yourself at danger or our animals at danger, I will end the encounter. There's not going to be a warning with this one because typically, if people are going to mess around, it's going to end badly. So we end it immediately.
Yeah, again, it's not so much like the cheetah where you might just get a scratch or a bite. In this case, you try and mess with you're going to lose an arm or a leg.
Yeah. So and then again, that kind of puts the onus on people as well to like, hang on, if I mess around here, like, yeah, sure, the facility will get in trouble, but I might not have an arm.
Yeah, you might not survive the encounter.
Exactly. But I mean, we've mitigated it to the best that we can. So that, it's not we're not just putting it on the people to like, okay, have fun, be safe.
And the cage is sealed. It's not like your average person going to stick their arm out and dangle it about. You have to try really hard. So it is safe overall.
So that's what we say. So a lot of people come there and we've trained our crocs to come up to the cage. We feed them from the cage, so they're associated with food.
Yeah, I was going to say, some people might be worried that it stresses the croc out, because obviously shark cage diving has a bit of a controversy around it. Not number one, it might be stressing out animals in certain ways. But otherwise, might just attract them to the area. That's a whole separate thing. But as you say, we've trained the crocs so they don't get stressed out when they see the cage coming. They go, food, which might stress some visitors out because now they're associated with food. But ultimately, it's about making the crocodiles understand that the cage coming in and out is not a bad thing.
Yeah, it's a good thing. So we explain to people, listen, we're going to put you inside now. I'm going to be operating the crane. If you've got any questions, ask me. Garrett's going to be the one that's going to be taking photos because we obviously document it for you because it is quite a cool experience. And then we say, okay, I'm going to lower you in. I'm going to put it up to your chest height so that people have got the ability to go up and down as they please. We thought at the start it might be fun to give everyone kind of big scuba gear and they can just spend the whole time underwater. It is quite fun seeing them at eye level above the water and then going underneath. So having the ability to kind of control that, we want to give people that opportunity to do what they.
And it's such a unique interaction with the animal like that in the first place.
It's great.
There's plenty of places you can go and you can see crocodiles most of the time. You see them from above and they're just lying around. But when you get to be in their natural environment like that,
it's like see them from
like being in a National Geographic special.
Oh, exactly. It's really, really fun. So we give people the opportunity. Chest height is as deep as we go. They can go up and down as they please. We provide them with goggles. We obviously say don't stick your hands up the cage at any place at any time, or your feet. Make sure all parts of you remain inside.
Like a roller coaster. Right?
Exactly. Yeah. If we do see that visitors are sticking fingers out or doing silly stuff, we do end that encounter immediately, and that is an encounter that we have ended immediately because we rather would have everyone being safe.
Yes, of course.
And you do get people that they see the croc. So when the crocs come over, they are in hunting mode. They are ambush hunters. They're not charging over and like thrashing against the cage and trying to get to you, but they are hunting you effectively. So they come over and they wait for you to make a mistake. And those crocs are smart. They know where they can get you and they can't. Because we feed them from the cage. They know where they can get the chicken and they can't. And they know that as soon as that chicken goes through that grid, then I can eat the chicken.
Yeah, so if you
stick
your finger
with your hands.
Yeah,
exactly. So we tell people that if you stick your fingers out, we will end it. If you stick your feet out, we will end it. We've also built the cage so that there's a specific area or 3 specific areas where they can grab on. Obviously, you can't be holding the
the visitor, not the crocodile. The visitor.
Yes, yeah. The visitor can hold on to the cage.
So I mean, the cage is safe and comfortable for the visitor as well.
Yeah, there's bars on the inside.
Yeah.
So those bars are demarcated with the little green plastic, so they can grab onto that and they can lift themselves up and down as they please. Those bars are on the inside of the cage. It's not accessible to the crocs. If they were grabbing onto the grids, their fingers are obviously exposed, so we don't want that. We also say don't splash the crocodile or splash the water at all, because that actually irritates the crocs. And again, that isn't for a safety of a visitor thing, it's more just for safety of the crocs, which is also something we consider. Placement of the cage is important as well. Obviously, we're not just lowering the cage in wherever we want. We kind of are aware of where the crocs are. We want to
give them their space as much as
we'd rather put the cage in and let the crocs come over. And then the final thing that we say to them is just enjoy it, because it is like once in a lifetime opportunity, and you don't get to see crocs that up close and personal.
And again, just for the sake of the crocs as well, we don't force animals to do things that they don't want to do, and especially the season, because of them being ectothermic. Ectothermic. They which for if you don't know, it's cold-blooded is the layman term. They need heat and such to generate their own energy, and they get that from basking in the sun. So obviously in the cold seasons they have less energy, and being forced into, they wouldn't want to come and eat in the first place. So dipping the croc cage in this time. It's also why we don't tend to feed them much during the winter seasons as well. We don't encourage too much activity, because it's not something they would naturally do during that time either. No. So seasonal, we also take that into account. We take into account their natural behavior when it comes to these interactions.
Yeah, so we've got 2 heat pumps on that pool. So the pool doesn't really get below. I think the lowest it's gotten in the last 2 years is about 17 degrees. Which is fine for crocs. Yeah, it's pretty nice for them. The outside temperature, obviously, we can't control that. That gets a little bit colder, but they're smart and they know when to go in the water when it's nice and warm, and when they can. They've been playing that game their whole life of how can I get the best temperature.
Exactly.
So they've been playing that their whole life, and they're very good at regulating that. But yes, we don't want to put them in a position where they're going to be in danger. So that's why we don't feed our crocs, like you said, for parts of the year. And that's because if their metabolism is reduced to such an extent that their heart rate is about 1 or 2 beats per minute, they don't actually digest anything in their stomach. So if they've got meat in there, they're not digesting it. That meat is going to go off, and that can poison them. Anyone who's eaten slightly off meat will tell you that it's not a fun experience. For them, can you imagine you've got this like 2-3 kilogram steak sitting in your stomach just rotting for days on end? It's not a good recipe. So we prevent that simply by not feeding them, and they're not in danger. They in the wild they are able to go a year and a half without food. So they're quite comfortable doing these 4 or 5 month stretches of no food. There's that safety kind of protocol in place that's actually better for them. So we aim for that. But getting back to kind of the visitor interactions, obviously, strict rules in place. And like I say, no one really wants to lose an arm or lose a finger unless you're insane. But luckily, touch wood, we haven't had anyone there. And then afterwards, same thing. We haul you out. We hope you guys had a good encounter, and we're giving you educational kind of content the whole time.
That actually, I think brings me to kind of the final point. I was thinking, in terms of how we set these protocols, yes, a lot of it is built up over years, and how we have learned this stuff from trial and error. But when it comes to visitor safety, we can't go, is the cheetah going to attack or not? Let's figure it out and see how it goes. We have to also consult other bodies and their local health and safety bodies when it comes to, again, workplace environment, but also animal health and safety, like the SPCA and Cape Nature Conservation, etc. But there's also international bodies that we subscribe to or ascribe to help regulate and make sure that we're following the correct thing. That's why we're accredited with so many different facilities, and that's why we follow the protocols set out by these bodies and these organizations as well.
Exactly. Yeah. So your normal health and safety stuff, we kind of interact a lot with LabourNet, which is an organisation that does kind of the legal side of things in health and safety as well. And they kind of advise us on health and safety in the workplace, in the normal workplace.
Yes.
So to speak, the normal.
Because we still have an admin, we still have buildings and things that people
Maintenance and
do the taxes and all that.
Yeah.
I don't know, number stuff, I don't get that.
I don't know, they do something.
Salaries or something, I don't know.
So they obviously advise us on the normal kind of health and safety stuff that isn't so kind of abnormal or different to a normal work environment, and then so we interact with them quite a lot, and they advise us. And then we've also got various other organisations, like you said, that we speak to. We actually had Wild Welfare, which is a welfare organisation specifically focusing on animal welfare.
Hence the name.
And interactions. And we've Dave Morgan, the CEO, we speak to him pretty regularly, and he's advised us a couple of times on different kind of interactions. And we hosted them when was it, 2-3 months ago, just with regards to they had a conference here about
and they do
assessment.
auditing of
they do auditing a lot in Southeast Asia and Asian countries, but all over the globe, but that's primarily their focus, and a lot of work with elephants as well. They do auditing on welfare, so they give us some advice, and we've got a good unofficial relationship with them, where we can just interact with them and
get their advice and everything.
Get their advice. We're also members of PASA, which is the Pan-African Association of Zoos and Aquarium, so we've got standards that we have to meet with them, obviously. And then from there, once you've got your PASA accreditation, we're also members of WAZA, which is the World Association of Zoos and Aquaria, and Narinda Bierkus, our Assistant Director of our Zoological Assistant Director, sorry, words. She goes off, she hasn't gone every year, but we try and keep up to date with that. So last year she was in San Diego, at the San Diego Zoo. That's where the conference was held last year, interacting with people. Also within South Africa, I mean, I like to think that we're a pretty one of a kind facility. South Africa's got very strong aquaria, 2 oceans and Ushaka. But we've also got some good zoos. And so we interact within our community, and we chat with them and ask them advice on
I think that's very important, and I don't think a lot of people also realize that they do actually chat to each other quite often, and they learn from each other, and they share information, especially when it comes to like health and safety of the animals, of the visitors, and everything. And they're often they'll send people to us, we'll send people to them, around the world. We'll send and we'll go. And I think when we were first building our new Valley of the Ancients, at the time it was new, we literally went and did a bit of a world tour of European zoos to just see how they do their the back end of their waterworks and such, and how they keep everything running and there, and they would share the information. So
it's something that's been very, very nice to see in the zoo industry, and South Africa is a little bit behind in that, because there is a lot more collaboration overseas, but it's also they have access to a lot more resources overseas. We've definitely, as a zoological industry in South Africa, and this is getting onto a completely different subject, but we've definitely grown in terms of collaborating and kind of working together to kind of, that's what's best for the animals. Back in the day, like in the 1800s, it was all about, I want to see a giraffe, so I'm going to stick it in a concrete
I want to see and shoot a giraffe.
Depending
where you are.
Exactly. How much, how much money you've got.
Exactly.
If you could afford to get on a ship and go to Africa for 6 months and then shoot a giraffe, by all means.
Exactly.
But back in the day, it used to be like, okay, let's just stick the animal in a concrete enclosure. If it lasts for a year, then cool, we can make money off of it for a year. Whereas now zoos are a lot more animal welfare focused. How can I give it the same life that it would have out in the wild, if not better, in captivity? What are its welfare standards that it need? And some of those animals are very, very complex in what they need. Like a sloth is they've got they need specific diet, they need specific temperature requirements, they need to be interacted with a certain way. They can't be housed all together and stuff like that. So
I think that's a conversation we'll have in another episode, where we talk more about the ethics and efficacies of zoos and how they. I think that's a very fascinating topic, but it does definitely overlap with overall health and safety.
Definitely, because if you've got animals that are not going to be happy, ultimately they're going to be
Yeah, it's welfare, right? Health and
Yeah.
safety is welfare ultimately.
Exactly, yeah.
So-
And they're going to be behaviorally, they're going to be different as well, which I think is an important distinction or kind of connection that people don't tend to make is, you know, if you've got, you'll often see it, the best way to kind of say it is if you've got an abused dog, that dog is often aggressive to people.
Yes.
And so who's at fault? Is it the owner for making that dog aggressive because it suffered years of abuse, or is it the dog's fault? In my opinion, it's not the dog's fault, because the dog wouldn't be like that if it wasn't treated a certain way. So we try and obviously, you know, by working with our animals a certain way, by treating them a certain way, by interacting with them a certain way, you kind of set that precedent of this animal is going to be fine, and the animal is going to be healthy, and the animal is going to be well.
Well, ironically, that's exactly how we approach our visitors as well, isn't it? We treat them certain ways, we train them in certain ways effectively by creating these spaces and these expectations. Exactly. And we have return visitors. Obviously, they're taught how to interact with these places in certain ways as well, and then go from there. And then by teaching them here, they hopefully take that interaction out into the wider world. To general society, but also with animals in their spaces. So.
Yeah, I think that speaks to more kind of design of the ranch as well. Is how you bring people. It's just like it's the positions you're putting the animals in. It's the position you're putting the people in.
Yes, exactly.
As well.
Yeah.
And so if you're going to put them, you know, in an area where there's no one around and there's no cameras and there's a bunch of animals, you will get people that will want to go up and touch the animal and hold the animal and stuff. And that's where you need to kind of keep your eye on those areas. So we've got a walk-through exhibit, which is the temple, and we kind of keep a bigger eye on that than, say, now our lion enclosure, because, you know, the people can't really reach out and touch the lions. It's just not possible, unless they are insane and they want to jump over. Hopefully that doesn't happen.
There's not set of precedents here.
But you know, you need to kind of, and that's going to be your health and safety policy in every workplace, I think, is to just look for the weaknesses and address those when and if you find them.
And help the people in those spaces understand the best way to cope with these issues and to resolve them. Great. Well, I think that's given us a full appreciation of health and safety as far as at least a conservation facility like the Wildlife Ranch goes, and touching on other places around the world that would share a similar environment and scheme. So hopefully our viewers have learned something interesting here. Any final words there?
No, I think we, you know, that was quite nice, and I think, you know, it always, whenever I'm talking about health and safety, it always reminds me, I can't remember what the program was, but there used to be this very, very funny quote, which was they used to do all these random experiments. I can't remember the program. It wasn't Mythbusters. But they used to do all these random experiments, and stuff would explode and stuff like that. And they were quite big on health and safety in a comedic way. In that, and they had a brilliant quote, which was "Safety first, people second." Whenever I'm thinking of that, it's pretty funny.
If anyone recognizes this thing, please mention in the comments, because I have no idea what it's on about. Look it up. But all right. But that's perfect. Thanks so much, Kai. Appreciate it.